EVO Grand Finals are some of the biggest, most important matches played for any fighting game.
In all of the years of Street Fighter 4 at EVO, GamerBee has been the best performer.
They provide some of the highest prize payouts, sure, but they also provide a look at the absolute highest levels of competition. Two of the greatest players in the world facing off with everything on the line after having run a gauntlet through some of the toughest competition they've ever faced. EVO Grand Finals are where the magic happens.
What is next?
Oh! He gets him out of the air! He gets him out of the air!
And sometimes, that magic is made all the more powerful by something outside of the player's control. Sometimes, everything goes wrong, and the most important match of the year also becomes the craziest.
Stay in it.
Is GamerBee gonna have to climb the steepest mountain, taken down once again the tournament point for Momochi? He has to win these 2 rounds. Oh no!
No, James. No, James, not like this. Not like this. No.
In 2015, Yusuke Momochi was on top of the Street Fighter 4 world. He had won the 2014 Capcom Cup, but he didn't rest on his laurels. He attended and dominated plenty of events on the 2015 Capcom Pro Tour and off-circuit tournaments. He won Shadowloo Showdown and South by Southwest, and then placed second at Final Round, the Topanga World League, and Stunfest.
FADC full punish, he's got 2 bars as well! Where's the Ultra? Oh, Momochi takes it!
Simply put, Momochi was one of the best players in the world heading into EVO 2015. Meanwhile, a perennial underdog was having a pretty good year of his own. Bruce GamerBee Shang narrowly missed out on attending the 2014 Capcom Cup Finals.
Oh, can he take this? Oh, the overhead!
Oh my god. Fudo,
7 seconds! Fudo gets the Ranker! Oh, I can't believe it!
He chooses to run!
GamerBee can't do nothing! What's he doing?
What's he doing?
What's he doing? He gave up! He gave up!
What happened?
I don't know!
What happened?
Not being there crushed him, and he even considered retirement. GamerBee was long considered Taiwan's finest Street Fighter 4 player, and he always showed up at EVO. 5th in 2010, 17th in 2011, 2nd in 2012, and 9th in 2013.
Oh no, Poongko refusing to be put off the uppercut, and that could be the end of him with the style points! GamerBee fist in the air, and Poongko, the master of style, gets styled on.
Few players had that level of consistency, and despite missing Capcom Cup, GamerBee was still one of the best in the world. He just wasn't the international champion that players like Momochi were. In fact, GamerBee placed just behind Momochi a few times that year. 3rd at South by Southwest and 5th at Stunfest. He was having a solid year, just not the best. But GamerBee always showed up at EVO. Momochi had a pretty uneventful run through the bracket, beating Gact and Cien to make top 8. Meanwhile, GamerBee made a pretty clean run through his pools, with only a handful of wins over notable players like Dako and Peppadai. Unfortunately, things came to a screeching halt when GamerBee faced off against Infiltration. Infiltration and GamerBee had something of a history at EVO. Infiltration capped off his 2012 win by crushing GamerBee 3-0 in the Grand Finals.
This might be the smart thing for GamerBee to do.
Oh no,
No, he got it again! Infiltration almost with a Raging Demon button. It's such a momentum killer every time he does it. And this could be it!
Down to his last pixel.
And while things were closer in 2015,
GamerBee next hit. Oh, double KO, but that works out great for Infiltration. He will get the win.
they still didn't swing in GamerBee's favor.
That's it.
EVO's losers bracket is one of the most dangerous places in fighting games. You suddenly have to play twice the number of matches to make it to Grand Finals, and past pools, it's full of sharks. And GamerBee got thrown in with one of the biggest sharks out there.
Wow, this is a match to qualify for top 8. It is going to be Daigo Umehara against AverMedia's GamerBee. One of these guys is not making top 8.
Okay, finds it, and a critical drop.
Oh, Daigo
he got the brave dance.
He hit the button.
He made it out. GamerBee is going to move on.
Oh my God.
GamerBee is going to move on to this game 3. Does he have it? GamerBee playing so smart. Elena, one of the most difficult characters to attack. Throwing out those shorts. So smart from GamerBee. Oh, GamerBee!
He
overcoming!
GamerBee made top 8, but he still had a mountain to climb. Fighting NuckleDoo.
He's running out of life. It is still game point.
Oh, and again, just the uppercut from GamerBee.
Tokido,
Oh no, that could be it. That could be it for Tokido.
And that's it. GamerBee moves on, conquers 2 of his demons.
and Nemo.
He pays the price there, but he won't cash in the Ultra there.
Oh.
Denying him that fake offense.
Again!
GamerBee.
Instant overhead into it. EX Air Jaguar kick. It's going to be the combo.
The Kung Fu Bao. Such respect.
To earn his spot in Losers Finals, up against a man who put him there, Infiltration.
And honestly, Infiltration can probably be considered one of GamerBee's demons.
Infiltration and GamerBee played a grueling 30-minute set, thanks in part to GamerBee's pick Elena and her healing ability. Elena's Ultra 2, known simply as healing, restores up to a third of her health based on how long she holds it, and she builds the Ultra meter to use it based on the damage she takes during a round. Yeah, that's right. She takes damage to fuel her healing, which gives her more health to take more damage to heal all over again.
Oh, the balance test. Is he going to steal it away again with the healing? Yes. Here it comes. Timer's
Back
dead.
dash.
1 second.
Oh my god, that's gonna do it!
Wow.
That is exactly what he
Wow.
needed. Got just enough health back. Fireball was able to get some extra damage. And here we go,
no.
activates it. Is he gonna cancel it? No, he just lets
Wow.
it rock, and only a sweet punish.
The mind games. The established meta of which character beats which character may be changing as we watch.
Oh, and then just a crouching jab. But Infiltration did not bite. Oh, here it
Wow.
comes again. But
Safe position, challenge. Wow, he knew he could do it.
oh,
Great dash forward. Good challenge into the reset. Could it be enough?
and the throw! Infiltration lives on.
We are going to the final game. The final game.
When
2
everything,
great champions.
when everything looked like it was going GamerBee's way, suddenly it has turned around.
But after both players switched to more aggressive characters, GamerBee came out on top with one last timer scam.
Can GamerBee get it done?
Now he's
Another roundhouse. He's denying her. He's denying. He can't come
no
in.
uppercuts, and then the throw. But only
Will there
3
be enough
seconds
time? 2 seconds left. He wants a timer scam it. Oh, the final hit in the back.
It's not enough. The timer scam works, and GamerBee advances forward.
One of the most mentally draining matches of Street Fighter I have ever witnessed on a competitive stage at this level.
GamerBee played the longest set of the tournament, but he still had one more obstacle. Momochi, who was sitting in Grand Finals after beating Tokido and Infiltration, and was poised to take the entire tournament. But GamerBee was on a roll.
Still in the game. Yeah, he's gonna get the sweep. Oh,
Oh,
Momochi
2
just
bars
got
somehow
hit.
with the jab.
Oh, that's so risky. Wow.
Wow.
Gets him. Doesn't give him the chance to get behind him. Catches him out of the air at the top.
GamerBee making all the right calls.
Yeah, even on that throw tech that we just saw.
And Momochi looks like he's playing just a few frames behind. Just a few frames behind the pace. He's not quite able to hang in there so far, but he's far from out of this.
Oh, no uppercut there. That's one of those just uppercut if you can.
Oh, denied.
GamerBee
Denied.
has reset the bracket.
For the second set of Grand Finals, Momochi switched to Evil Ryu, a character who could dish out a lot more damage than Ken.
Oh, he
Oh,
cuts
there it
it.
is.
And
Will
that
it be
should do
enough?
it.
Yes.
Goes for the easy combo. Smart stuff from Momochi. Takes game 1.
And while it worked for the first round, GamerBee continued to trade games with Momochi.
Oh, the stand roundhouse. Now Chip is in effect. It's a danger. Chip is in
But
danger.
he has to get close enough to land
Right.
it.
Oh, he
Wow.
doesn't need it. Standing
Just
roundhouse.
like that.
Oh, he's a super. No.
And
He's
he
gonna stay.
actually beat the standing forward. Deny unbeatable. Oh, wow, he missed it.
Oh, wait, what's that?
Be a little bit off, and it's going to be 2-1 for Momochi.
Oh!
Wow.
Just lets it rock. And now Momochi, tournament point, and you can see the life draining out of GamerBee.
It's the last chance. Delayed wake up. Such
no
guts.
super
He's got to
again.
look deep inside to have anything. A rabbit must come out of a hat. That could be it.
Oh,
Red
red
focus.
focus.
That could be it.
Can't
Will it be
this-
enough?
Will this
It's
be
gonna
enough?
Right down to the line.
Not
The final
quite
hit
enough
does
yet.
not kill. What is next?
Oh, he gets him out of the air.
Momochi.
He gets him out of the air.
GamerBee is taking it the final, the maximum distance. The pressure's so high. Oh, he caught him! He caught him! GamerBee is
taking
going
to
the
the last
distance.
game. It is down to the final game.
His knockdown follow-ups have not been getting paid off.
But here comes Momochi.
While Momochi took the first round of the last game, both players were so close to victory. With all the pressure in the world on their backs, the unthinkable happened.
Taken down once again, the tournament point for Momochi. He has to win these 2 rounds. Oh no!
No, James. No, James, not like this. Not like this. No.
Just as the second round of the final game started, Momochi's stick disconnected. EVO rules state that in the event of a pause, intentional or otherwise, the player who causes the pause has to forfeit the round.
What's happening?
He's just knocking him down lower to help so he cannot build any more meter.
But Momochi had other problems. Momochi didn't just pause the game, his stick broke, which, according to his manager at the time, Antonio Javier, caused something of a crisis for his team.
All of a sudden, I'm sitting there like, oh my god, where are the rest of the guys? I need a spare stick. I need something that Momochi is comfortable playing on.
For Momochi, the issue was his stick breaking. But for GamerBee, he had a ton of momentum going into Grand Finals, but he was mentally drained. He had just played the longest set of the tournament, and now he was stuck waiting, taken out of the game, unable to stay warmed up.
I can't imagine what they're going through.
Back in the Evil Geniuses camp, AJ and Momochi's partner Chocoblanca were struggling to find a new stick when the unthinkable happened.
So I jumped up out of my seat, ran through the aisles, ran into Choco, who was doing the same thing. Running through the aisles of EVO, yelling, does anyone have a razor stick? No one had one. So we went back to main stage after we run through the entire convention, not finding a single razor stick. I see Tokido come up and give him his stick.
Tokido, who both GamerBee and Momochi defeated to make it to Grand Finals, gave his stick to Momochi. And with that stick in hand, after 5 minutes and 17 seconds that must have felt like an eternity, both players got back to the match.
But the time will now count
And
down.
here it is.
And we are going to go to the final round.
Round Evolution 2015.
This is it. GamerBee opening. He's found that focus, and Momochi will not be pushed off. Looking for that wake-up uppercut and finds it.
Tries to bait it out from GamerBee as well. Like the tensions are so high now.
Back to the neutral game. They both fired out right at the beginning. Shooting hard. Representing the fireball that he needs to control that space and keep him out of that stand roundhouse range, but at the same time endangering himself by throwing up his fireball.
Ooh. Oh, wait, punish.
A little bit slower.
Oh, there's that stand roundhouse again. That is just giving Adon some. Oh!
New
no
technology. Final round.
Oh, gets the sweep. Tries to bait something out. Oh, the counter.
Oh, counter hit. That could be it.
That's it right there. Momochi.
Momochi is
He's
yours.
gonna take it.
Evolution.
He is your Evolution 2015 champion.
Momochi emerged victorious, and GamerBee, ever the bridesmaid, stayed second. He was comforted by Infiltration and then his partner, Juliana, who was in tears over an EVO GamerBee was finally so close to winning.
Right to the very last round. And the crowd on its feet for GamerBee. A lot of respect. He can come out of this in, I think, a very good position.
2015 was Street Fighter IV's last year at EVO. And while 2016 gave us an incredible Street Fighter V Top 8, GamerBee didn't make it. He was put in losers once again by Infiltration. But despite all that, GamerBee is still going to tournaments. Street Fighter V might not be his favorite game, but GamerBee always has the potential to come up huge, to play the underdog and triumph over impossible odds. GamerBee is one of the hardest working, most beloved people in the FGC. And at EVO, even if he doesn't win, he always shows up.
Certainly he's earned a lot of fans for his incredible play here today.
Thanks for watching. If you want more great content just like this, be sure to hit the subscribe button.